In our last episode, we took you through the Avenue of the Giants, through all the huge redwood trees. Redwood trees, right?
Redwood trees.
Redwood trees, yeah. Which was a super cool drive. And then we headed for the coast because the redwood forest is inland a little bit. And then we're on Highway 101 previously. 101 goes inland before it comes back out. And we wanted to hit the coast. So we turned off of 101 at Leggett, which was in California, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
And we took the Highway 1, which goes over the coastal mountains and then drops you down on the coast. Which was our first experience of narrow, windy mountain roads without guardrails. Marianne's favorite.
So the Highway 1, Pacific Coast Highway, is, I have notes because I can't remember all this stuff. I'm old. Pacific Coast Highway was constructed in 1934. It is 1,051 kilometers or 656 miles. It's the longest state route in California and the second longest route in the United States. Pacific Coast Highway, in our experience, there's no shoulders. It's narrow. It's windy. Switchbacks, hairpin turns, cliff drop-offs, rock cuts, and absolutely spectacular scenery.
Yeah, and it's especially that northern section where you go over the mountains and drop back down. It's not something you'd want to take a really long vehicle on. I think there was limitations on the signs.
A 40-foot length limitation on that. And just because in order for you to get around a lot of those corners so that your rig doesn't scrape on the rock cut, you have to cross the yellow line. And there's no moving over because, like I said, there's no shoulders. So if you're pulling a big trailer through there, there's a good chance you're going to have some issues.
Yeah, it's more so length between axles than total vehicle length. Like we're 41 feet with the Jeep on the back, but the Jeep follows us like a wagon. So we're not really, that long. They sort of need to pick a number, but if you had like a long tag-along trailer, it probably wouldn't be a good idea.
No.
You're going to have to really go out in the other lane on a lot of the corners there. And which we even had to there was a couple corners on that going over the mountains down to the coast that we had to cross the line to make it around the corner, just because there's like walls there on the side. Like you have the side of the pavement and then the edge of the hill like cut into it, and so you're gonna rub on the hill if you cut it too much.
yeah And like our Jeep, her footprint is smaller too, right? So she just kind of tucks in there. If you're pulling like a big fifth wheel or something like that extends past the width of your vehicle, and I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't do it.
Not recommended.
No. And when when what you're seeing on there regularly is sports cars.
And not saying you can't take the Pacific Coast Highway with your rig and then just turn up 101 before you get to that northernmost part.
Yep.
That would be okay. Still, you still better be, pretty chill with your driving because it's still narrow and windy and stuff, but not as bad as that mountain pass at the far north end.
Yeah.
Well, Highway 1 starts strong for sure. Nice and narrow back there. We'll get some more of it. So it says no motorhomes over 40 feet are allowed on this road. So it must be sketch. The thing is, the Jeep follows right in our tracks. It's pretty awesome the way it follows us. It's not like a trailer where it cuts the corner. You look at this on the GPS, it's just like this for a long ways. I like it.
This is Baja practice.
Yeah.
Do not go over the
Highway
white
1
line.
delivers, man.
Ooh. The long way down. Look at the smile on that man's face.
What a wicked road. I could do this all day long.
Oh, we gotta go up there.
Yeah, we get to go out along the beach. Nice spot here. Get to see the sunset.
Right. Oh, it's down there.
How's it look?
Your destination is on the left.
There's a car, a truck, and a motorhome down there. Car's leaving. Yeah, you could go.
Okay.
So after we left the Avenue of Giants, we went through the mountain range, like we were telling you, and found an Overlander site along the coast, kind of down in a little
because
valley.
we ended up spending pretty much all day in Avenue of the Giants, so it was getting late by the time we dropped down onto the coast. And, you know, we were sort of under the impression we wouldn't find any Overlander free camping, you know, kind of boondocking spots on the California coast, which we managed to find them all along the way.
Yeah, there was a few. Yeah,
There's not a lot, and you don't get off in the wilderness really, but none of them were terrible, and they
Yeah.
all had good views.
Yeah.
Good morning, guys. We made it down onto the Pacific Coast Highway, Highway 1, last evening, and we got to this little campsite just by dark, just before dark. But we got a nice little ocean front, a little noisy with the waves, yeah, pretty nice spot. We actually have Pacific Coast Highway right there, which comes down in a little switchback through this wash. This other RV pulled in here after dark last night, and then it goes back up here. But you know, there's really not much traffic on the one, so I didn't hear any vehicles, but I'm sure some went by. But we're down here and the ocean kind of muffles all the sound anyway. It was a pretty good spot. So we're gonna check out Fort Bragg this morning and head towards San Francisco, probably camp another Overlander spot somewhere a little before San Francisco, I would think. I don't know. We'll see how many miles we put on today, how many sites we see, and we'll go from there.
Take me out to California. Take me out to California. I feel the day is coming to an end, and my eyes are drawn to southern skies. And all the while I was trying to pretend the promised land was there beyond the great divide. But I'll be coming home soon. Yeah, I'll be coming home soon. So take me out to California, where the sun is always high, where the streets are paved with gold and no one ever gets old. I'll be longing for that day till you come and take me home. California, California, here I come. I've seen it all upon the silver screen, the happy faces and a sign upon a hill.
In the morning, our intention was to head to Fort Bragg. Because
after our camping
After
spot,
our camping.
our Overlander spot.
yeah, so our intention was to head to Fort Bragg because I wanted to see Glass Beach. But along the way, we spoke to a bunch of locals or people who frequent the area, and they said, really, there's not much left to see at Glass Beach because people have been taking the sea glass from the beach, and now there's really not much.
Yeah, it's not what it used to be, I guess. And there was a local I spoke with at our camp spot that was there in his RV that lived nearby there, and he said, yeah, there's not that much anymore. He said, you're probably better off to go to Point Arena.
Point Arena, yeah, there's a lighthouse there.
Yeah, he
and there's
says, there's a
beaches.
beach there with lots of glass. So we're like, well, maybe we'll just skip Fort Bragg altogether, even though that was our kind of intention was to go there. But we decided just to carry on to
Well, we did
Point
stop.
Arena.
We did stop in Fort Bragg, and we fueled up,
in the
washed
town,
our
yeah.
windows, and Gore got free beer.
Yeah. A guy came to me at the gas station and says, do you drink beer? I'm like, well, yeah. And he says, we got all these samples of beer and I don't know what to do with it. And I'm like, well, I'll take some. And so it was a guy that worked at the gas station where I was gassing up. So he gave me like a handful of beers.
It was from the local craft brewery
Yeah.
In Fort Bragg. So that was kind of funny.
Welcome to Fort Bragg. Have some beer.
Some beer. So we tried to navigate our way out to the lighthouse in Point Arena. We did find our way there. We talked to one of the guys manning the gate so that because you can't just walk up to the lighthouse now, it's a paid.
It was a tourist
use
attraction.
area, yeah.
You pay to get in. So I just parked and went and talked to the guy at the gate to see what he knew. But he wasn't from the area. He was just working the gate.
Yeah.
And he didn't know.
And he says, well, there's a bunch of beaches, big beaches down, this way. But we are still in that huge windstorm that was making its way down the coast. And the waves were massive.
Yeah, we were getting the low tides weren't coinciding with daylight hours really. And it was windy with big waves. So we had high water and big waves. So it wasn't really the time to get down on the beaches so much.
Yeah, so
It was windy.
we just abandoned that.
We weren't necessarily blasting through California, but we were just driving, and if we saw something interesting, we would kind of get pulled off and look at it. But given the weather conditions and stuff, we just kind of drove and looked.
And look,
Nothing really pulled us off that much.
not really. We just sort of
Yeah.
enjoyed the drive. But that was just
But-
us, there are so many places to stop and explore, and beautiful little coves and lookout points where you can see the sea stacks, and beautiful little towns that are literally on the side of the road. So there's the mountain, the road, the town, the water. Like it lines it, and so there's
and
so
really,
much to see.
like the Highway 1, Pacific Coast Highway is sort of it's one of those highways everybody wants to drive. You've always heard about it. You hear about Route 66, you hear about the Pacific Coast Highway, and it's just like, it's something you want to drive. Like, as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
it's a drive. It's more about the drive to me.
Exactly. And that's kind of what this particular trip ended up being, was a drive and look and ooh and ah, as opposed to stop. And we got so into what we were seeing outside of the rig as we were driving, we completely forgot to film ourselves. We were just like, look at that, and so, which is why we're walking you through this video today, because we were just so enthralled by what was out
Yeah,
our
it is an
window.
awesome drive. Everybody's got to do it
Yeah.
at some point. It's and you know what? We're no Pacific Coast Highway specialists by any means. We didn't do any research.
We just drove it.
We only drove half of the northern half of the highway, basically. We drove about 300 miles of it.
Yeah.
which is about 500 kilometers. So approximately half of the highway. We didn't do the southern part
No.
because we were headed inland and we were looking for more big trees.
Yeah. So one thing that we noticed along the way of the Pacific Coast Highway was how the landscape changed. So when we came out of the Avenue of the Giants, we were in the mountains and it was still very rainforesty and big trees. And then all of a sudden it opens up and you're on this coast and you're on this shelf looking over the ocean. And then you kind of veer in just a little bit again, where you come you can see the ocean, the coast off in the distance, and you're in farmland and these twisty little roads, and there's cows, and there's
like
cows.
cattle ranches, which I was really surprised to see that.
Yeah.
You know, being that you're on the Pacific Coast Highway and you're on the coast of California, and this huge, vast amounts of land are just being used for cattle grazing.
Cattle is crazy.
I was kind of surprised.
So-
where you'd have this wicked view off the highway of the ocean and the cliffs going down.
And cows
But
in
there's
between.
cattle's grazing in between. Not what I expected.
And cattle guards on sections of the highway which is kind of funny because you come through, like you kind of dip in a bit and the coast gets a little bit further away. You can still see it in the distance. There's cows in between you and the coast. Then you come back out again and you kind of come down and there's a mountain. And on top of that mountain or hill, there's cattle up there. And then there's this little tiny wee narrow road and then a sheer drop off to the water and a cattle guard. And you think, it's a pretty brave cow if it comes down that hill. Gord called them mountain cows.
Yeah, mountain cows.
Eucalyptus smells amazing. Oh, it smells so good. Wow.
What do they got? Mountain cattle around here? Yeah. The odd one maybe falls down the hill from those fields out there. I don't know.
As we approached onto the coast and we're driving along where the road it narrows right down and it just twists and makes its way along the mountain, there are not no guardrails, but very few guardrails. You don't want to get it wrong because it's a long way down till you splash.
And the roads aren't excessively wide. Like,
no,
there's enough. When you got two big trucks, there's enough room for the trucks. There's an extra in a lot of places. Yeah.
No, they are installing some like higher sort of look like wire type guardrails in some of the corners, but not many of them. And so it's a road that you need to pay attention to as you're driving and just enjoy the views instead of driving it like you stole it kind of thing. Because if you miss a turn.
Yeah, and you know what? People say, oh, I live in the mountains. I drive in these back roads in the mountains all the time. Yeah, like as far as paved highways go, like we drove all over British Columbia on our secondary roads. And we drove tons of mountain roads, but they're not like that. Not in Canada.
There's shoulders and there's guardrails and things that make you feel safe.
Yeah.
We're just a little bubble wrapped.
Yeah. And then you know what, Marianne, as you've seen before, she doesn't like the heights that much, and especially when there's a big cliff down to the ocean off her side of the vehicle. But this was sort of the how would you say what's the word I'm looking for? The
Introduction?
Introduction is the word. This was Marianne's introduction to sketchy roads with cliffs on the side without big shoulders.
Oh my god.
Because if you keep following along in these videos, you're going to see some way sketchier roads than this.
You're going to hear all kinds of sounds coming out of me.
Yeah. Because I don't know, were we in search of sketchy roads? Maybe. Maybe I wasn't. I just didn't tell her. But we found some way sketchier ones in the future.
Oh yeah, things are going to get very interesting moving forward. But we're not going to tell you it's a secret. You just have to keep following us along. But yeah, I'll leave some of the sounds in this video so that you can even go, oh. Blood pressure was definitely up. The first night for sure, I was just like, we need to stop. I need to go to bed. I'm exhausted. I think my blood pressure was just like through the roof. I was cranky. I couldn't even really fully enjoy the first part of the road going through the mountains because I was just so stressed out by, oh my gosh, if you go over the white line, we're toast. Like so I chilled out a little bit on the second day as we come along, but there was still like times it was like, oh my gosh, it's a long freaking way down. Please pay attention.
It was a crash course for sure.
Ooh, cool.
That was a good one.
That was a good shot.
That'll look good on video. Oh, look how narrow it is here. I think that was even narrower than the previous most narrow spot. Look how high we are from the water.
I know how high we are. I'm sitting on this side.
What a view.
Oh, good Lord. Holy moly, holy.
This is awesome.
Oh. Jeez.
You know, and there was so much load on our hitch going through like all of that Highway 1. It was up, down, stop, go, turn, 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 turn.
It was crazy.
That we actually wore out part of our Blue Ox hitch. Like, you know, it's got some miles on it already. It's not brand new or anything. But it got excessive wear on that road. To the point where if you look back in our HD Shocks video and Direct Off Road, they helped us get it fixed up because it got excessively worn on that road.
It was like wild. It was wild. So then as we tooted down the coast, we came on to San Francisco.
Yeah, so we took Highway 1 along the coastline all the way to San Francisco, and we actually camped out just, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, along the side of the road. We found an Overlander spot literally along the side of the road. It was just like kind of like a big scenic lookout.
And who would think you could camp for free along the Pacific Coast Highway 20 minutes from San Francisco?
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we pulled over there and we thought, oh, it's going to be windy. And it was windy. But it calmed down overnight and the traffic turned into pretty much nothing because that drive would be so dangerous in the dark. And we were just on the edge of a state park. Gord had a hard time pronouncing it in the video, and I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing it now, but Mount Tamalpais. I'm sure there's a different pronunciation for that state park. And we were right on the edge of that. And everything else quieted down, but the coyotes came out and they just sang their little song like all night long. It was pretty wild.
Good morning, guys. We are at Mount Tamalpais State Park. I'm sure you can say that way better than me, but yeah, we stayed here last night. We rolled in here just about dark. This is just a pull off on the side of Highway 1, which, you know, has a decent amount of traffic, but then once it gets dark around 5 o'clock, the traffic just dies right down. I didn't hear much last night for traffic. Pretty quiet. Super sketchy roads along here. So not something I would really want to drive in the dark. Maybe when I was younger. And yeah, you see lots of Porsches and stuff like that going by, ripping all the corners on the highway. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty wicked ride. We had fun up there yesterday. And we're on the Gulf of Farallones, I think it's called, which is the big inlet to San Francisco. So the Golden Gate Bridge is just about 30 minutes down the road here. You can see all these ships. I don't know if you can see them, but there's like big container ships and stuff. They're all kind of coming in and out. And so we're headed towards the Golden Gate Bridge.
Then we got up in the morning and we said, okay, San Francisco, here we come. Now, if you've been on this channel for a while, you'll know that we live in Northern Ontario in a little itty bitty community. And we actually live on the outside of that little itty bitty community. And it's really quiet where we live, and there's no traffic. There is not one single stoplight in the town where we live. And we're going to San Francisco. And we also are not people who enjoy the city. We avoid major centers as much as we possibly can.
But you'll know if you followed along on our videos previously also, is we never take the easy route.
No, we don't. We
Because you
really
can just
don't.
get on the interstate
Yep.
and travel right through San Francisco on these big multi-lane highways lifted up or whatever, but we don't do that.
We followed the one all the way through.
Yeah, we stayed to the coast, and even we took the coast to the good lookouts on the north side of the Golden Gate Bridge and took some pictures and video with a good view of the bridge at the lookouts, where people don't usually drive with 40-foot long RVs, I don't think.
People
but
stared at us like, are you lost?
yeah, we just fit in the tunnel, and yeah, made our way through there, took some pictures and video, then we crossed the bridge. 15'6" clearance. Oh, it curves too. And we should have, what, 10 inches to spare. Is it ever echo in there? That is a long tunnel. Then we went down to the other spot where people get good views of the bridge, which people don't normally drive RVs to, I don't think.
No.
There was just enough room for us to squeeze in there, knock a couple trees off on the road, and do just a little U-turn at the end. And then we drove right through the city, basically.
Yeah, right through the city. It was crazy. It was really pretty. We did not stop anywhere. We just go through the city. And there's one point where I asked Gord, what did you prefer? Did you prefer the twisties of the mountains and the coastal highway, or the highways of San Francisco? And he's like, well, they're both equally stressful.
Yeah, they both shouldn't be missed.
Yeah.
It's an experience either way. Yeah.
better than anything. Do you like driving to San Francisco or highway?
They're pretty equal. Like the twisties are more fun for sure, but they're both just as stressful. There's another one of those driverless cars. Look at that, nobody in there. A car goes by with nobody in it. What the heck? I'm not getting in. And we just stayed on the coast right from the Golden Gate Bridge basically and followed that coast all the way down around. You know, we could have took that interstate and went inland because we were going inland anyway. But we just didn't want to take the interstate and we were still looking for some more coastal highway, I guess. And we got to see the little coastal towns that are by San Francisco all the way down to Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
Another long one. Gotta do the horn.
And then once we hit Santa Cruz, we turned inland and we went through. We have to tell you this because it's super funny, but we mean no disrespect in any way. We went through a little town called Los Baños. Now, literally translated, it means the bathrooms. And
Yeah, so it seems like an odd thing to name your town, and I don't know what the origin is of the name of this town or whatever.
I don't know.
And when we really noticed it, actually, we didn't even realize we were going through this town, but as we were driving through the town, a police car came by us, and on the back trunk of the police car, it says Los Baños Police.
And so it's like...
And it's like, the bathroom police?
We may know this. If you
Smoking
live
in
there,
the boys' room, you gotta have the bathroom police, I guess. I don't know.
if you live there, we're really sorry for making fun of your town name, but...
Yeah, well, like, what's the deal? Why?
Yeah. If
Somebody must be able to explain this to us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you know why it got a name like that, and if there's a different meaning behind it than the literal translation, please share it with us and we will stop making fun of it.
Yeah, maybe it's a completely different meaning.
It
was funny.
It was funny and it gave us a little giggle and it was, so. But, so that's our little tour of the Pacific Coast Highway. What a cool road.
It was cool. It probably would have been very different if it wasn't super windy and high tides and stuff. Like we said, though, we were there for the drive more than anything. But, you know, if you had really nice weather and different time, you'd probably stop and check things out. There is a lot of things you can see in all these little towns.
There's so much. There's
lots
surfing.
Lots of little towns with, you know, old fishing towns and stuff, which is kind of cool.
There was a bunch of surfers in one little town. I can't remember the name of it that we drove by, and they were waiting for those big waves.
Yeah, that was near Santa Cruz. Yeah.
They were just sitting there, just waiting for those big waves to come in, and so there's a lot of really cool things to see and to do along that route, and we highly recommend if your rig's not too terribly big to do that for sure because it's really, really cool. So after
go ahead.
After we turned off, went through Los Baños, we are going to make our way to Sequoia National Park.
There's more big trees.
More big trees. I know you've been like inundated with big trees from Washington and Oregon, and then the redwoods, but I'm telling you, man, we got to go see the sequoias. We've seen the hemlocks and the oaks and the Douglas firs, the redwoods. We've seen all these massive giant trees. We've got to see the sequoias.
Got to see the sequoias. And if you don't know, Sequoia National Park has some serious altitude.
Huge.
It's like up there. And you drive up to get into the park, which we camped in the park because we wanted to be right in the thick of it. And to drive through the park, you drive way down the other side, and it's even sketchier roads than Highway 1.
It's pretty wild.
When you go there in November?
Yes.
Yeah. When you go there in November, there's snow.
Yeah. So
there's rules.
Oh yeah. You
need chains with you to drive on the roads. So we'll see how that works out.
So next episode coming up, we camp in the snow in California.
Yeah.
Crazy. So till the next one.
See you then.
Bye for now.